Nick thought that the Patriots were going to win it all last year.
Super Bowl 53. You and Chandler in Old Hall, you guys called the Patriots are awful. What are you talking about? And I said, okay, you have to
They
have hope in
were
the best team in the
awful.
league. According to Chandler, what are you talking about?
I never said they're gonna win it all.
I
I think they're gonna be a.
I think they're barely going to miss the playoffs. That's what I'm saying.
I think
Nick,
they're gonna
aren't
make
you the
it.
kid who picked Texas A&M to win our March Madness bracket a couple
And they
years ago?
got to the Sweet 16 that year.
Wow, Nick, that's great.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Nosebleeds podcast, where today we are going to be having another Boston Sports Hot Takes episode. My name is Nick Antonakis, and I'm lucky to be joined by, the usual guys. We got Chandler Betts, we got Stuart Brooks, and we got Chris Gambus back for another episode. So, what's up, guys? Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having.
All right, so the last Boston Sports Hot Takes episode that we did, we had some good debates in it. It was pretty heated, stuff like that. So we just had to bring it back for another one because we had so many hot takes that we wanted to discuss. So, yeah, we're glad to be back for another one. So I say maybe we start with this one. Okay, so N'Keal Harry will be statistically the best wide receiver in the AFC East. What are your thoughts on it?
That was my
Chandler-
opinion. Somebody else.
Yeah,
take.
Chandler, do you want to open?
Oh, sure.
As to what?
Yeah, I say yes that he will be, and this is a relatively hot take considering there are some pretty good receivers in the AFC East, namely Stephon Diggs and Devontae Parker. But my big point to that is Josh Allen last year had the most uncatchable passes percentage in the NFL. I think it was like 26%, which is we see Jameis Winston, who had 30 interceptions, and his percentage was only a few ticks lower than that. So I don't think that Stephon Diggs will be thriving in that offense, and Devontae Parker also will have a lot of quarterback uncertainty between Ryan Fitzpatrick, who is another one of those high octane players, but not exactly gonna give you a really great 1,000-yard receiver, and Tua Tagovailoa, who we don't know when he's going to come in. And I think that Cam Newton, as weird as it sounds, because the Jets don't really have a great receiver, as weird as it sounds, the Patriots probably have the most certain quarterback-wide receiver combination in the AFC East right now, in terms of production. So I think that that N'Keal Harry will end up being the statistically best in terms of receptions, any combination of receptions, touchdowns, and yards per catch, and yards after catch.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and disagree with that. Obviously, I feel like N'Keal Harry is going to have a pretty good year. I like the guy. He played pretty well last year when Brady actually threw him the ball. But at the same time, the Patriots are not a team that would really focus, I don't think, on getting the ball to the same guy every time. Like, if we're in the red zone, I feel like the Patriots are more likely to try and ram the ball in with Michelle or something like that than go for a pass. And if we did, I would see it being maybe a slant route to Edelman or something like that, just because Edelman is kind of that secured slant guy in New England. So I could definitely see Harry being that outside guy, going to the outside, maybe in the red zone, getting some touchdowns. He's definitely going to score a good amount this year. But then at the same time, going up against guys, like you said, like Devontae Parker, Stephon Diggs, I just feel like one of those guys will probably outperform. I would probably say Devontae Parker would have a better chance just because the Bills have such a deep wide receiver core. They're going to be spreading out the amount of passes that go to John Brown, Cole Beasley, and Stephon Diggs himself. While at the same time, they do have a deep running game as well as Josh Allen can scramble. So they're not going to be bombing it to Stephon Diggs every time, which would cost them statistically. But a team like the Dolphins, who really don't have that many other options besides Parker, I could see Parker kind of overstepping and taking that number one statistic role. I think it'll be close. I definitely think N'Keal Harry could have a good year. But at the same time, I don't even know if he's going to end up leading the Patriots with statistics this year. It's all kind of up in the air right now. It depends who starts at quarterback. and who actually ends up playing when we get into the season, because, there are a good amount of cut candidates on the team right now. So
Yeah.
I'm going to say hard no.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Nick. I think that it's going to be Devontae Parker. Excuse me. Devontae Parker probably leading the AFC East. And that's because I agree that the Bills and the Patriots have diversity in both their teams, whereas the Dolphins really don't. And, I think that Devontae Parker is, clearly that number one option that they're going to try to get to most of the time. And even on the Patriots, I think we got Julian Edelman, who obviously, one of the greatest wide receivers the Patriots have had all time. And I think that he's, especially with Cam Newton coming in, trying to prove himself now, I think he's going to look to try to – obviously it's going to help N'Keal Harry too, but he's going to just try to get to that secure option of Edelman. And,
Yeah, I agree with Nick and Chris. I wouldn't even be that surprised if Harry ended up having 900 or even 1,000 yards. But I also just think that Parker will end up having more, just because the Dolphins really don't have any other targets on their offense. And also they didn't have a very good quarterback. Last year they were running Rosen for some of the time, and then Fitzpatrick. Mm-hmm. And I think Tua even this year will be better than Rosen. So if you have Fitzpatrick in there a little bit, who's both a little bit of continuity with him, and then you bring in Tua, and maybe he can find him. And with Parker, I think we're a little, not, I don't want to say spoiled, but we saw him burn Gilmore all of week 17 last year for the whole game, who's pretty much consensus the best corner in the league. So I just feel like he can do it. If he can do it against Gilmore in that Patriots secondary, he can do it against anybody. So I just feel like he's the kind of guy who's going to end up getting a lot of yards, especially in the open field, because they're always looking for him. He's always the first read almost on any passing play for the Dolphins.
Well, I actually think that N'Keal Harry will probably be that first read for the Patriots this year, because he doesn't – Belichick, I'm sure, he was the one who pulled the trigger on drafting N'Keal Harry, something that, as we kind of talked about in the last Hot Takes episode, Belichick doesn't usually draft skill positions in the top rounds. Mm-hmm. So he has to be somebody that he really believes in. He's physically one of the most dominant receivers that or he has the potential to be one of the most dominant receivers that Cam Newton's ever played with. I might argue, other than DJ Moore, who Cam Newton really did get limited exposure with, that N'Keal Harry might be we might be able to say at the end of the season that N'Keal Harry is the best wide receiver, not pass catcher because Greg Olsen, and Christian McCaffrey, but the best wide receiver that Cam Newton's ever played with. In that whole 15-1 season, I'm pretty sure they did that without a 1,000-yard receiver.
Yeah.
Which is, first off, incredibly impressive that Cam Newton could do that. But also, if you give a quarterback who can do that, a receiver who can, if you throw the ball up, he's big enough, he can go catch it, he can bring it down, he can get a couple yards after the catch. I wouldn't be surprised if N'Keal Harry really thrives off of Cam Newton's kind of smash mouth style of play, and I think that's going to be very helpful for him and specifically statistically for him.
Yeah, and also I think Newton, even though he's not insane at it, definitely when I was looking at the Panthers offense last year, they do, Newton likes to throw the ball deep, actually more than you would think, because he does have a big arm. And I think that running with Harry would have a lot more success with Newton other than Stidham because of the arm talent. He's going to want to – he's more of a deep threat guy. He's going to go down the field and get that 70-yard touchdown, and less
Absolutely.
of a dude who's just going to pick up some yards in the middle of the field. He's a big play receiver. So I can see how he could have enough big plays that it puts him over the edge on a lot of these guys, even if he doesn't have as many catches as somebody Diggs or Parker, or even a guy on our own team like Edelman.
I would even say that the Patriots, even though their wide receiving core isn't nearly as strong as, the Bills and some other teams in the league, I would say that for the level that all of our wide receivers are at, they're all kind of at the same level. So I would say in that sense that our wide receiving core is pretty deep. I would say Harry, Edelman, Sanu, maybe even Jacoby Myers are all around the same level. So I don't see really, unless, if Harry, I would love Harry to, overperform and really stand out amongst those four guys. But at the same time, when you have four guys who are all evenly about the same in talents, you're not going to be picking one guy all the time. You're going to be throwing to who's open. So that could also limit N'Keal Harry's receptions.
But I think the general point about Harry is that he's just the guy they're going to be looking for over the top. So if he can make those catches, he's the one who's, like, out of all the receivers, he's going to be the one they're going to be looking down the field for, not Edelman and not Sanu. Even though they're going to look for those guys. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's a boomer bust too each week
this year.
You think he's a boomer bust, you said?
Yeah, each week, I think, for, like, talking fantasy perspective.
Oh,
I
yeah.
Either put up crazy points, and he's going to go long and score a bunch of touchdowns, or they're going to be running, like, run plays and slant plays to guys like Edelman and Sanu.
I mean, I think N'Keal Harry's ceiling actually, maybe not his ceiling, I think his expected prime actually is Devontae Parker. They're very similarly built players.
Yeah, pretty long.
Yeah, I mean, N'Keal Harry's 6'4", Devontae Parker's 6'3". They're very similarly built. I remember Devontae Parker coming out of Louisville. He was
people thought he was going to be really, really great. And he's good
touted
now,
the same.
But it took him a while to actually get to the point where he was productive.
Yeah, I think that N'Keal Harry's process will be a little bit expedited rather than Devontae Parker's was. But I think that's a really good point that it took Devontae Parker a while. So I don't think that we can really sleep on N'Keal Harry for not having a great rookie season. Mm-hmm. While I think 2019 was the draft that was A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
While DK Metcalf was on the board a lot longer than I really wanted him to be, and the Patriots had another option to pick him, I think N'Keal Harry will prove to be a very good receiver.
Hope so.
Yeah. And, I mean, I agree with that. It's just, at the same time, going back to the point, Harry being that long ball kind of guy, I feel like the Patriots are more of a conservative offense, and I don't see them bombing it down the field all the time, especially with a running quarterback. If we start Cam, maybe even Stidham, because Stidham's a scrambler, I would say, as well.
He's not going to be able to get the ball down there, Nick. He's gonna get
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
It's just going to get
play.
It's just going to get picked.
Shut up.
Damn, Nick, it's just going to get picked off every time.
Yeah.
So the way I'm gonna cast all of your minds back to the 2016 season. That was Deflategate. 4 games, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
4 games. Not Deflategate, but the 4 games with Jimmy Garoppolo 100%. If you would have shown those 4 games, like, individually for the different quarterbacks, to somebody in 2012 and said, this is how the Patriots are going to be playing in this time frame, they would not have believed you, because it's such a different style. Mm-hmm. The Patriots style is not curated just to what Belichick thinks is the best way to play football with any team. It's not like a plug and play. It's
right. The reason we were playing like that is because of who our quarterback was.
Yes.
Exactly.
But now Newton probably has just as good of a deep ball now than Brady does, just because of Brady's age.
Oh, yeah. I would say he probably has a better deep ball. Much better deep ball than Brady.
Maybe not much better, but I'd say that it is better right now.
He can throw further.
Yeah. And those workout tapes, man. And the incoherent letters in his Instagram. Love it. I love the energy.
That actually, those workout tapes actually move into my next point, the next hot take that we have here on the list. That the Patriots will win the AFC East.
Oh,
do you mind if I start?
Yeah, go ahead there.
So, I was very high on the Bills this year.
Yeah, you picked them to make the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
No, I did not.
Yes,
you
picked them. You said you were pondering them. Nick, that means that you
you had them beat the Ravens. You said they were better than the Ravens.
Yes, I did. And I think they can beat the Ravens.
The Ravens are literally Vegas projected to go 16-0. Like, obviously, it's not going to happen.
They're favored in every game.
They're favored in every game, including against the Chiefs. Keep going, Nick. Keep going.
All right. Anyway, I'm very high on the Bills this year, but at the same time,
clearly you're not.
I am.
Clearly you're not.
You can't be high on the Bills and also pick them not to win the division.
No. Look. What I'm saying is the Patriots. Like, I don't know if this is just like the preseason hype that's going into this year. It probably is. But just, all of the stuff that I've seen of the Patriots working out together and stuff, especially from Mohamed Sanu, I was very low on the Mohamed Sanu trade last year. I hated that trade, and I still hated it up until about 2 days ago when I saw how much work he was putting in this offseason to make a comeback. So it gets me excited to see all of these guys putting in a bunch of work. Am I saying that the Patriots are the favorite to win the AFC East this year? Probably not. But at the same time, if they are, going up against the Bills, I feel like they could I feel like the Patriots the ceiling this year for the Patriots is 12-4, and
Wow.
their floor is
12-4.
There's
and
no
their
way.
floor
Have
is
you seen our
7-9.
schedule? Have you seen our schedule?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would
I would say
say
okay,
they're going to
11-5.
only lose.
11-5 is our ceiling, and our floor is
Yeah.
7-9. I would say.
I still
Our
go
floor
with-
is 5-11. I think we're gonna go 8-8, maybe 7-9. I was originally saying 6-10, but I'm gonna say 8-8 now. But our
I
floor
just-
is not
I said
7-9.
9-7.
Yeah, I say 9-7.
That's our ceiling?
Yeah. I just think
Hell
it's-
no! I had
Nick,
us go
why are you
10-6.
Okay,
I mean,
but Nick, our schedule, first of all, and then
Okay,
second of
I
all,
agree.
even if
But it's
I like Cam Newton, I know he's making a comeback, but like, he's 31, a running quarterback. Like, he's not going to give us 30 touchdowns and 8 picks. He's not.
okay.
He's gonna be
Yeah,
like
obviously.
he's
But
gonna
then
be a C plus.
if he splits stats with Stidham,
No,
No,
That-
Nick. If he
that's not how
starts Stidham,
football works.
Nick, if we start Stidham, then we're gonna go
Okay,
8-8 then.
Nick, have you watched the Brady Six, the documentary about
Yes.
Tom Brady? So you know how they were talking about how they always split snaps between Brady and Drew Henson. That's who it was.
In
You know
Michigan,
how
yeah.
you know how well that worked? It didn't.
Yeah,
and
it
that's
not well.
in college. That's in
They're not gonna
college.
split. They're not gonna
Do you
split.
think that they're gonna
Yeah,
start
but-
a 51 overall quarterback or whatever he is? That was Tom Brady.
61.
61.
Yeah, he
That's
sucks.
terrible.
Stidham. You know what? Can we quickly get this point so we have this momentum for the next point?
Wait, what?
Keep going.
Oh, okay.
I'm just gonna.
I just I feel like the Patriots could go 11-5 and the Bills could go 11-5, and then just by that little division record edge that the Patriots will have, they can win the division. I mean, it's out there. It's out there. I just put this on here because I really wanted to just say how my opinions have kind of changed on the Patriots. It's very unpredictable, to say the least, like how we're going to do this year. But at the same time, I have hope. Like, I've always had hope. Last year, I thought we could win the Super Bowl. The year before, I
how'd
thought
that
we
turn
could win
out?
the Super Bowl, and we did.
Yeah, but how
But
did that
then-
turn out last year?
Yeah, last year was disappointing. But I still have hope that this team could make the playoffs and, maybe even get a playoff win.
Hey Nick, Patriots' first preseason games against the Lions. That means that Jared Stidham can roll out against the third stringers again and play well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, a quick point
Okay.
about the preseason. I feel like that to get the players involved into the system, especially Stidham, to see him in an in-game scenario.
It's not like that. The only
How?
part of preseason that matters is the first quarter or the first couple drives of the third game, because that's when the starters.
They're in their hole.
Nick,
Yeah.
All right,
Nick,
we're going to disagree on this, but
best preseason performance.
I'm not talking about the plays. I don't
talking about plays.
I
either.
don't
I'm talking
care
about the
if somebody
performance.
runs a 91-yard touchdown in the preseason. That's not going to mean anything. But Stidham
So,
playing
okay.
consistently in the preseason,
Define consistent.
throwing good passes,
Against just
being knowledgeable. Okay, against
What kind of
third-string
pressure
guys,
is
but
that?
he knows the field. He knows the
Awesome.
outlook of the
Nick,
play.
that's not
Guys
enough to
against
say he's
third-string
going to be
guys.
better than Cam
So
Newton.
can Johnny
I'm
Manziel.
not saying he's going to be better than Cam Newton, but all I'm saying is that it's going to come down to
Okay.
week 1 of the 2020 regular season to know who's
But-
going to be starting.
But Nick, if the Patriots are going to go 11-5, who's their quarterback?
I would say I
There's
don't know.
This isn't difficult.
I don't
Come
know.
on, Nick. Come on,
It
Nick.
would probably
Come on.
be Cam Newton. It would probably
Okay.
be Cam
would
Newton, but
have
it's
to
not guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is.
If
It's
we're
not.
starting,
Nothing-
Stidham,
nothing
this
in
team
life is
isn't winning more than 8
guaranteed.
games.
Nothing in life is guaranteed.
Nick, my problem with your point here of us beating out the Bills is not like we might actually be talent-wise almost as good as them or as good. I mean, I don't even know about that, but it's just a schedule because we won the division. So we have to play Baltimore and we have to play Houston.
Kansas City.
They don't have
That's
to play
true.
those teams. And Kansas City.
And even
That's true.
Denver and Arizona.
Yeah,
Those
we
are
have
tough.
The tough
probably
teams.
the toughest schedule in the league. We're going to drop
Yeah.
some of those games, and Buffalo's going to get those easy wins, and then it's just going to put them over us. It's just really hard for me to see us winning the division under almost any
Hard for me to
circumstance.
see us winning 10 games. It's hard.
Yeah.
I think our ceiling
I'd
is
say
9-7.
10 is
Well,
like
six-
super.
Brand quarterback too, still trying to learn the system.
Yeah, right. He just came
Oh
back.
yeah, but that's why Stidham's gonna play. Stidham's gonna lead us to glory.
Yes,
We're gonna
Stidham
go-
knows the
we're gonna go
system.
23
Yeah, he
knows the
in a
system.
19-game season.
Nick, he
Yes,
he
he
knows the
does.
system to throw 5 touchdowns and 9 picks in his first 5 starts. He's gonna go out there. Nick, I just don't understand you at this point. It's just like this irrational belief.
Yeah, there's literally
not even
nothing.
Not
that we can say to
irrational.
convince you how
Nick,
It's a
wrong you
valid
are.
point.
Nick, make an argument for Stidham not using the preseason.
Not using the preseason.
Yeah.
Then there's nothing.
Okay, then you're
That's
done
all we
because we're
see.
not listening because nobody else agrees in this entire Nosebleed universe.
There
that
has
a
been
preseason
Nick. There
matters
has
that
been
much.
one quarterback ever, and I say this ever, who has performed in preseason and moved that and directly moved that into the NFL, and that is Dak Prescott.
Yeah,
Dak
I remember he was
Prescott
really
isn't
good.
that great of a quarterback.
Okay. And I'm never saying that Jared Stidham is going to be an excellent quarterback. He's going to be an average, maybe
Below
even an above average quarterback in his career.
Below average by a lot, by a very decent amount. The
I bet
talent
he
in the
never
NFL is
starts a
only
game.
going like
All
this.
I'm saying is, and I said this in the Cam Newton episode. I've said this 100 times because every episode ties back to Jared Stidham.
That's true.
That we're not going to know who's starting at quarterback until we get there week 1.
Yeah, of
Sure.
course.
Well,
but
unless
Technically,
Newton
you're right.
balls out in the preseason,
Well,
then
look,
they're going to start him.
No,
Technically, Cam
because
Newton
you
tears
guys
ACL the
disagreed
day
with me before. That's what I'm
Technically,
saying.
you're right, but in practice, you're not.
He's not going to
Like,
start.
oh,
Nick, come on.
Yeah, you're never going to say, yes, this
Well-
guy, unless it's an established starter, you're never going to say, this guy is 100% our quarterback. We have nothing could go wrong with him ever. He could never do anything, and he will always be our guy. Cam Newton obviously doesn't have that kind of, leeway yet. But you can't expect Jared Stidham to be better than Cam Newton. I would say even right
I'm
now,
not expecting that.
Jared Stidham will never be better than Cam Newton is right now in his
Yeah, I
whole
agree.
career. Jared
I think
Stidham will never
Nick-
be better than Blake Bortles in his prime.
That's a
Nick.
very bold statement. I don't
Blake
agree with
Bortles-
you.
No, it's not.
Blake
It's not
Bortles is
really.
significantly better
Like
than
Tua
Jared
situation.
Stidham will ever be. Blake Bortles led
Yeah.
his team to a certain degree. He led his team to the AFC Championship.
Wait, Chris, what did you say?
I said you're acting like it's the Fitzpatrick and Tua situation. It's just not.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not.
Exactly. That is a very good way of putting it. Because
No,
Tua
I'm not.
is actually a quarterback with promise.
Wait, are we going to do Stidham's getting
Okay,
cut?
wait,
Is that what
yeah.
Yeah,
we're
If
doing?
Stidham's
anybody,
absolutely
if anybody else has any points to make about the Bills, you can go ahead. But if not, I say we just sit them the hell out of
Let's
the league
vote
and
on it. I
finish
don't
them
think
off
we've
with this
actually
last
voted
hot
on
take.
it. I say that the Patriots will not win the division. They will be
No, I don't think so.
second or third.
Yeah, I don't think they will. I think they'll be second.
All right, okay. All right, so the next hot take, rolling with the Stidham train. Jared Stidham will get cut.
It's like a mildly warm take. Jared Stidham is going to get cut.
I would say
That's-
probably not,
I'm
but I don't
really
think
holding
it's
myself back
possible.
from swearing right now.
I would say no.
Okay, I think that he is definitely going to get cut. If you look at
What?
the way if
I
you
think
look at
it's
the
a
way the
possibility.
Patriots have built their rosters, they're going to want Cam Newton and they're going to want an experienced quarterback in the system. They signed Brian Hoyer. When there's only been twice in Patriots history, to the best of my knowledge, that the Patriots have run with 3 quarterbacks, and that is when that third quarterback was Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo. Jared Stidham is not Tom Brady, and he is not Jimmy Garoppolo. He is J.P. Lossman.
At best.
Bill Belichick is never going to keep J.P. Lossman when he could have a valuable depth wide receiver, some white guy from Walmart, to make 5
Oh my
catches and 80 yards, or something like that.
See, this is where I think
Jared
Nick,
Stidham is not as valuable as you think he is.
the preseason comes into play here because I don't think Hoyer secured a spot.
Thank you.
I think
I don't
it's gonna
think he's
Thank you.
secured a spot
For the
either, but I think
backup
he's going
situation.
to.
it's gonna be
Thank you.
Stidham
My
versus
other,
Hoyer.
I have a quick point though that he did draft I think 2 quarterbacks this year. The Patriots.
Yeah, okay.
Or was it undrafted?
They were undrafted.
They were both
Undrafted. So
undrafted.
I know we don't want to put too much on the preseason, but I think if one of those quarterbacks outperforms Stidham in the preseason, then why wouldn't they just roll with that quarterback?
Okay, wait. I'm gonna pause you right there. That's what the preseason is for. And
Well,
I've
yes,
said
but-
this 100
Yeah,
times.
for the backup.
If
Yeah,
Stidham
but Nick-
outperforms Newton, Stidham's gonna start.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
No.
Dude,
What?
No,
How?
Dude, no, because Cam Newton has a built reputation. He's played many years in this league. Stidham has
Why
nothing.
would
He has one
Belichick
pick
not
six.
start the better player? I don't
Because
understand.
he's not the
Not
better
the
player.
better
Watch
player.
him play football.
What do we have to do?
If he is the better player, is what I'm saying. If
God.
he's
He's
the
not.
better player, you're gonna start him.
He's
Guys,
not.
he's
No.
stupid.
If
Oh
he
my
is
God.
what I'm saying.
He's
if we go
no.
to the preseason and Stidham outperforms,
You're like the
Cam
Ryan
Newton, he's gonna
Hollins of this
start.
podcast right
Yeah,
now.
this
You're
is
like
really
the
bad.
Ryan Hollins of this podcast.
You're wrong, and here's why.
Nick,
Gentlemen-
Nick.
All right, wait. Somebody else go, because I've talked so much about Stidham.
Okay,
Somebody else
Nick.
I can actually do a point about the multiple quarterbacks we have.
go. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it's in question that it is not in play that we keep 3 quarterbacks on this roster, because as we've said, Bill Belichick will not want to tank. He will want to do whatever he can to win without Tom Brady. So someone give me an argument for Jared Stidham being that second quarterback over Brian Hoyer, because in all practice, Belichick wants to win. He will do whatever will make Cam Newton the best quarterback, and that will be having Brian Hoyer on the team. Because as I said in the last episode, the last hot takes, Brian Hoyer is an elite clipboard holder. He is very damn good at what he does.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good at talking to the other quarterback, showing them what they need to do. Even Tom Brady was receptive to him. That is a big compliment to someone.
Yeah.
Tom
He's
Brady
good
in
enough
the
to
heat
play,
of the game to
you know.
respect what he has to say. Jared Stidham has not – I'm not saying that he can't do that, because I think that Jared Stidham will prove to be a lot like Brian Hoyer in his career. But
Worse.
yeah, worse. But like in the same vein. But Jared Stidham doesn't have that kind of respect. And I don't think he will get that with Cam Newton.
That's true.
He's like a Deshaun Kaiser level player.
Yeah. Okay, Nick. If you were
a Christian
let's say
Ponder.
you were the head coach of who's a team without a quarterback?
Chargers.
The Jaguars. Let's say you were the head coach of the
Jaguars.
Jaguars. I mean, I would personally still take Gardner Minshew over Jared Stidham. But if you were the coach of the Jaguars, or if you were the GM, what level pick would you trade for Jared Stidham? How valuable do you think Jared Stidham is?
Like a
Seventh
fifth
round
rounder
conditional. Oh my God.
That's
or
absurd.
a sixth rounder.
That is absurd.
I think Gardner Minshew could have been Rookie of the Year. I think he's great.
I think Gardner Minshew, if we lose Cam Newton and we don't end up drafting a quarterback next year, I think Gardner Minshew would be a really good in-play quarterback for us.
Sure. I agree.
I have a point.
Yeah, what's your point? It's going to be wrong, but what's your point?
Well, tying back to what you said about Stidham, I agree that right now Stidham is not worth much at all. Maybe a 6th or 7th round pick at most.
Awesome.
I would say a 6th round conditional.
But
sure, yeah.
at the same time,
Or a supplemental draft pick.
that's why I feel like the Patriots would hold on to him, because he's not worth anything right now. So why not take that chance
Put him on the
for him
practice
to
squad.
develop into a better player next year and the year after?
Put him on the practice squad.
But Nick, he's already been on the team for a year. If he hasn't developed much, then he's not going to develop much.
2
Nick,
years.
we
From
only
the
have
start,
50 we only have 52 spots on the team. Is it 54 now? I heard something about it being 54.
I think it is 54.
I think it's 53.
Well,
Oh,
it's
it
always
is
been
53 in general. 53 in
Yeah.
general. But I've heard it move up to 54 or 55. But let's say right now, because I don't know whether that's true, let's say we have 53 roster spots. Why? Why would we have 3 quarterbacks when you can play one at any time? Why would we have 3 quarterbacks?
Because there's a good chance that Newton won't be back next year and we need a replacement.
What
That's
makes you think
first.
that Cam Newton won't be back next year?
And even if he's not, we have a whole
First of all,
an off season to sign another one. We don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
well,
Who
I
are the
think in the
quarterbacks in free
only
agency right now?
I think I disagree with the point that Stidham's going to be cut. I think the only way he could possibly be cut is that if Brian Hoyer and Cam Newton both grossly outperform him and Stidham just flat out sucks in the preseason, then I could see him getting cut.
I don't think you'll
But
suck
then
in
at the
the-
same time, I think it's a 50-50 chance.
If he's
Just
just in the
because-
preseason, then he's really bad.
I would
Wait,
I would just as soon have Josh McCown be our starting quarterback than Jared Stidham. He is a free
Yeah,
agent.
me too.
What'd you say,
I don't
Chris?
I
I
would
don't know.
just as soon have Josh McCown be our starting quarterback.
No,
Chance,
Chris.
that year you were talking about, right, where Brady was a starter, and then it was Garoppolo, and then it was
Hoyer, I
Brissett.
think.
Yeah,
Brissett.
Brissett.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
Brissett.
Garoppolo and Brissett. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. So Brissett is pretty. I don't know. Would you say he's on the same level as Stidham, or he's better?
That's just better.
By a lot. By a lot.
I'd much
He's a
rather
starting.
have him.
He's a top 20 quarterback, or maybe not 20. He's a
Well,
mid
back then,
mid
he's
20
saying.
quarterback.
He's saying
He
back
didn't
then.
perform this year, though.
Back
really.
then, he was good in that. He was really good in that game. He's
was
shown.
good.
You know what he didn't do? He didn't throw a stupid interception in the dying moments of the
But
game.
that's the thing. We haven't really given Stidham that chance that we gave Brissett.
And we shouldn't,
Why not?
Because he sucks.
because he has not shown me
How do you know?
that we should.
Nick,
He's shown signs of promise
Nick,
in the preseason.
I've watched him. Nick, I've watched him in
but,
college.
Can we
both
stop
at
talking about this?
Baylor
I can't do this
and at
anymore.
Auburn.
in preseason, right? You're playing against
Taylor is
all
just killing you right now.
You're
Nick.
That's true. That's true.
who don't
Oh,
play.
you agree?
Nick, how many games of I
That's
guarantee
very
you,
true.
I've watched triple the games of Jared Stidham that you have.
He wasn't
Yeah,
that
I
good in
don't
Auburn.
think so.
Preseason,
I've
you
watched,
probably
I've
watched-
watched a lot of Stidham.
You've watched 4
Wow,
games.
I'm sorry.
You've
Not
watched
just that, but
4
highlights as well.
Oh my God! You watched the highlights? Did you watch
That's
Johnny
the best-
Manziel's highlights when he? Whoa, guys! Look at me! I'm gonna go throw the ball like this. Yes, I'm so good at the whole NFL thing. Let me get drafted in the first round and then fade out. That's
Well,
not.
wait, let me
highlights
just
can
say
make
another
anybody
thing.
look good. You could
Let me
watch
just say another
RG3 right now and
Last
say he's
year-
an elite quarterback.
That's
Last year in the preseason,
No.
Stidham outperformed. Shut up.
Who did he
Stidham
outperform?
Stidham outperformed Hoyer, and Hoyer
Wow!
got cut. Correct.
Let's go.
So
I'm not saying that Hoyer's gonna play in the game.
why a year later
Oh my God, you're
would
an idiot.
Stidham
You're
not
an idiot.
outperform Hoyer when he's
Okay,
developed
I'm gonna. I have
more?
to
Okay,
write
but
this
let me
down
just
because
make
you're
Okay, let me just make another point here real quick, though, about the
Okay.
preseason, is that I do agree with your point that it is important for rookies to get in the game.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
along
Okay.
with that, once you're not a rookie anymore, it's really not important at all. I'm going to put almost no weight into any of their performances in the preseason except for the rookie quarterbacks we drafted. Because the preseason games just don't matter for these guys who've already kind of played. I mean, I know Stidham didn't really get a chance last year, but this is his second season. If he doesn't perform well in the preseason, then that's not good at all. I'm expecting him to play well. I'm expecting all the quarterbacks to play well who aren't the undrafted ones. So I'm putting very little weight into any of their individual performances.
But at the same time, I feel that the preseason matters for the Patriots just because there's a question mark when it comes to the quarterback.
No, I think training camps
For
are a
the
lot more
back.
important.
Okay.
Who's
Training
deciding.
camps are important as well.
down.
I agree.
Yeah,
Like,
and
this is
Kevin's gonna
for
start.
the battle between Brian Hoyer and Jared Stidham. This is what matters. I'll just read it. It's 30% performance, 30% system knowledge, 40% experience. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Brian Hoyer kills Jared Stidham in experience and system knowledge. Performance, sure, he might barely outperform Brian Hoyer, but Brian Hoyer's damn sure not playing snaps for the Patriots next year.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
That's
having him on the
Unless
roster,
Newton gets
even
hurt.
when Tom Brady was here, I mean, obviously it's a little bit different, or more than a little bit different, but it is different. But you aren't having your backup quarterback to expect them to be a starter. That's why the Eagles had Josh McCown. Do you think they expected to start Josh McCown? No. He was a really good clipboard holder. He's a journeyman who's bounced around a bunch of teams. He knows football better than a lot of people in the NFL. I think that Brian Hoyer has a realistic shot of being an offensive coordinator after he retires because he knows so much about the game.
For a high school team.
That's tough.
Wow,
But-
that's harsh.
There was some NFL coach who got fired from a high school job recently. I think it wasn't Lovie Smith because he's at Illinois, but there was some. He was an old San Francisco head coach. The guy right before Shanahan.
Jim Tomsula, him?
No, black guy.
I don't even know.
I'm looking it up. Whatever. It's not important, but he's Jared Stidham doesn't offer. If you have Jared Stidham versus Brian Hoyer, he doesn't offer anything to the team. Like having oh wow, if you had it's like in a fantasy football league that you have one quarterback slot and you draft Tom Brady or you draft Aaron Rodgers and then Kyler Murray with your first 2 picks. It is literally useless. It is useless. Yeah. So everything you said about Brian Hoyer outperforming Jared Stidham, A, I don't think that's going to happen. And B, it doesn't even matter if it happens. It has literally no weight to the decision. Or
Yeah,
no,
Vince,
significantly less weight. Mike
All right, well,
Singletary.
let's
that's
just
the
move
guy,
on.
Dave. Mike Singletary.
Can we move on? That's too bad about Mike Singletary.
yeah. Oh, was it really? Wow.
He was like 1 in
played in
30
the
or
NFL.
something. He was really bad.
He played in the NFL.
Yeah. He did. He was with the Bears,
He's
right?
on the Bears, yeah.
Yeah.
He has a famous rant after the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't win with him. Can't coach with him. Can't do it.
All right, wait.
All
Do
right.
we just want to go around and say like our final consensus on this before we move on?
But
Yeah.
I think everybody knows where we all stand, but sure.
Well, I'm obviously saying no. I don't think he's going to get cut. Even I agree with you, Chandler, that Hoyer's knowledge will be especially important now that Brady is gone and we don't have that source of knowledge there. I agree with that. But I could see at the same time Belichick keeping Hoyer as that knowledge guy, but then at the same time also keeping Stidham to hold as kind of that backup quarterback. That's just in my opinion. That's what I see.
Okay.
But, anything could happen. That's what I'm saying. That's why
you're
I
right.
say the
Anything can
preseason is going to be important, and especially training camps as well, to see what people are made of. That's
Okay.
what I'm saying.
Chris, go.
Yeah, so I'm on the fence still about – I have no chance he's going to start, obviously, but about getting cut, I still think that – I'm going to say no. It's going to come down to preseason. It's going to be like Nick said. But as of right now, I say no.
Okay. I'd say he ends up on the practice squad.
I think that the only world that I can see that he makes our final 53 is if we roll with 3 quarterbacks, and I don't think that's going to happen. We do that when we have a quarterback who has clear promise, and I don't think that Jarrett Stidham has clear promise. Having said that, I think that we are going to cut him, and we will try to bring him. Sorry?
I don't think it's going to be 3 quarterbacks either, but I think we could cut Hoyer. That was my thing.
Yeah,
Really?
it's impossible.
It's not. You're right. He's done it before. Belichick's done it before.
Yeah. That's
But
what
also, I would akin Jarrett Stidham to Danny Etling, and I would not be surprised if we cut Jarrett Stidham. I think we will try to bring him to the practice squad, but I wouldn't be surprised if another team does before, because I don't know how waiver wire works in the NFL.
Yeah, right.
But,
You have to cut him first to get him on the practice squad.
Yeah, I think that I am I shouldn't say I'm very confident, but I think it would be a mistake to not cut Jarrett Stidham.
Wow. Well,
Damn, Nick.
okay.
Tough for you.
All right.
Let's
We're
move
just going
on.
to have to wait and see. Hopefully, I'm really hoping that Stidham starts at
Wait
this
and
point,
see
and then we're
until
going to have a
tomorrow.
whole episode.
I hope he gets
It's gonna
cut
be
in a couple months and
Well,
Nick's
see,
just
yeah.
like,
I'm
Either
gonna
way,
have a
when
field
something
day with you.
happens, when
I'm gonna have
something
a
happens
field day
regarding
with you.
that, there's going to be a breaking news episode where everybody's
Yeah.
going to be tearing me apart, or I'm going to be tearing everybody else apart.
I mean, even if he
All right.
doesn't get cut, I'll just say it was a mistake because I think it will be a mistake.
All right. I say we give football a little bit of a break
Yeah.
now that
Let's
we've
do that.
kind of exhausted Stidham and the Patriots.
oh, man.
And why don't we talk some Celtics? So Joel Embiid will be a Boston Celtic in 2021.
Okay.
Who wants to kick it off?
This is mine, so somebody else take it.
Okay.
I'm going to say no. I think there's no chance. We would have to give up way too much young talent that shows a lot of promise right now. And I think, the Bucks obviously are really good, but the Celtics are right up there with them in the Eastern Conference. And I don't think that we need Joel Embiid. Obviously, he's a great player, but I don't think we need him. I think that's giving up too much for too much risk. Not enough reward for too much risk.
Okay, I'll go ahead. So I disagree for a different reason. I disagree because I think, two reasons, really. The first one is, two separate ideas. The first one is that I think there's a pretty good chance. Okay, so Embiid, I think, has the talent to be like a top 7 dude in the league.
Yeah.
And I think that would actually be a pretty fair trade for both sides, even if it would be kind of awkward for our system. Not exactly an awkward fit, but it wouldn't be the most it would take a while to get used to it. But I also think another team could come over with a lot better, not a lot better, but a different offer. Because Jalen's great, but I think the Sixers would want a guy who's like a big dude who can play along with Simmons. So like maybe if you looked at like Miami, maybe they'd want to trade Bam or something like that. And also I think there's a possibility the Sixers just don't want to trade him. That they're, winning a lot of games next year. They won 58 games or something, and they're just like, we'll just stay with this core. So, I mean, I just don't think it's going to happen. I think it's possible, but I think the chances are pretty low.
I agree.
Really fast, can Chandler, do you just want to read off the proposed trade?
Sure. I just made this pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So this some of this has to make the contracts work. I think it should. But the 76ers would be receiving Jaylen Brown, Romeo Langford, a sign and trade for Gordon Hayward's player option, 2 first-round picks being the Memphis one, which is it's 1 to 6 protected, but that's not going to be a problem, and it should be around 13 to 15, and then our first-round pick, which should be around 25-ish, and then Atlanta's second-round pick, which should be a pretty early second-round pick. Then we'd be receiving Joel Embiid, Shake Milton, and Al Horford's contract. I think that this will happen. I think that it'll be put into motion. The first step will be the 76ers probably getting knocked out in be that the first or the second round. The second round exit would be pretty I would look at that as a pretty good season for the 76ers, but the 76ers front office and the fan base has proven to be very fickle in the last couple of years. So I think that so they have a lot of talent. There's no doubt about that. But I think that they're going to see that Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid are kind of like water and oil together. They, in theory, they should play really well together, but they haven't. And that's the truth of the matter. They win games in the regular season. They don't win games in the postseason. If Ben Simmons had a jump shot, then I think that Joel Embiid would be the perfect center for Ben Simmons. And they would probably be – I think that they could very well have won not last year. They could win this year if Ben Simmons had a at least somewhat decent three-point shot. But in reality, he doesn't. And Brent Brown, is that his name? Brent Brown, one or the other.
I think it's Brett. I'm not sure.
Brett, whatever. The head coach of the 76ers. I do not expect him to survive the bubble. I think he's going to get cut. Fired. Fired, yeah. I think he's going to get fired. I think they're going to bring in a new head coach, and I think that new head coach is probably going to be somebody, because as most younger head coaches are, who focus their game around wings, as we've seen in the NBA in the last 10 or so years, that the NBA has been dominated by wing players. The last center to actually win MVP was Shaq in 2000. Yeah. It was Shaq in the early 2000s. I think it was 2000.
2000.
Yeah. So he was the last center to win MVP. So I don't think that it's unrealistic that the 76ers want to move Joel Embiid. And then knowing how quick Danny Ainge is to pounce on, he smells the blood in the water and he tries to make something happen. I don't think I would, if I were the 76ers, I would probably take the Bam Adebayo trade over this one also. But I don't expect the Heat to want to move Bam, because Bam is the perfect center for 2020. I love Bam Adebayo.
Me too.
I think that these picks aren't going to be – so we actually were talking about this before the episode. The Memphis pick, when we got it, this was before they got Ja Morant. That was it looked like it was going to be so valuable, because Memphis was really bad for a very long time after the grit and grind era. And then that looked like that was going to be like a top 5 pick. But now Memphis is pretty good. I think they're going to make the playoffs, but if they don't, they'll probably be the 9 seed. So that would put them as the 14th best lottery odds, or 13th best lottery odds. And for those of you who do not know how the NBA draft works, I mean, it works the same as pretty much any other draft, but the value of the picks is very different than the NFL. I would say that a late lottery pick is about as valuable as a second round pick is in the NFL. You can get good players, like you've had Donovan Mitchell, you've had Giannis, but for every Giannis you've had a Bruno Caboclo, and you've had a
Yabusele.
I don't know. You've had a Fab Melo. That was a little bit later in the draft, but those Gershon Yabusele, even a Romeo Langford, who I think has a lot of potential. He was going to be a top 5 pick in the 2019 draft, but then he got hurt, broke his thumb in his season at Indiana. But all of this to say that I think that Joel Embiid will no longer be a 76er in 2021, and I think that he will be donning the Celtics green, and I think this is probably the best package that they will get because we've seen precedent that Danny Ainge is able to make big trades work. We've seen it with the big three, which I think we'll probably talk about later. And we've seen it with even getting Isaiah Thomas for Marcus Thornton and a pick that became Skal Labissiere. And we've seen that with the Kyrie Irving trade. So I think that if Joel Embiid, like in the inner workings of all the GMs, Joel Embiid will become available and Danny Ainge will do whatever he has to do to get him. And one last point about the value of that. Sorry. One last point about the value of getting Joel Embiid. We've seen the most dominant players in the Eastern Conference and in the NBA in general be we've seen Nikola Jokic, we've seen Giannis, we've seen Pascal Siakam, we've seen Kawhi Leonard, and we've seen LeBron. We don't currently, as much as I like Robert Williams and Grant Williams, we currently don't have somebody to defend that. And you give Brad Stevens, who again, coaches don't matter too much, but when it in terms of implementing defensive schemes, you give Joel Embiid to Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens will make him into a top defender more than he already is because he's already a really good defender. But yeah, sorry, what were you going to say, Chris?
So the Al Horford situation, right? We would take his contract, but he would still be on the Sixers. What does that mean?
No. We would have
to take it too.
It would be in play for him to be a sign and cut, but I think that we'd probably keep him.
They'd probably run him off the bench, I think.
I mean, he still has value, just not at $28 million over 4 years. It was a monstrosity of a contract.
Or they'd try to trade him again, but because he wouldn't.
Yeah, there won't be a big market for him. And Al Horford, the reason that I brought him back to Boston in this trade is because Jaylen Brown, who I think has, especially with a new head coach, somebody pair him alongside Tobias Harris, Josh Richardson, Ben Simmons. I think that Jaylen Brown could really, really thrive in that offense and being one of the best two-way players in the league. I think that he's a tool that a new head coach would want to play with. And Al Horford, I mean, he kind of isn't. Brad Stevens got the best out of Al Horford in his older age. He was really good when he was on Atlanta, but he's not the same player anymore. Most people aren't, unless you're LeBron James. Most people aren't the same unless you're 34 years old. But if Al Horford can go back to his performances in Boston, he obviously won't be worth that massive contract, but he will be an important player in pursuing another championship in Boston. And then Shake Milton, as much as I wanted it to be Matisse Thybulle because I love him, but I don't think that the Sixers want to move Matisse Thybulle because he's super valuable.
So who would be the starting center in Philadelphia?
They'd probably go for somebody in free agency. They could do that, or we've seen the Rockets right now run PJ Tucker at center.
Yeah, they might run a.
They could very well run. Kyle O'Quinn isn't very good, but they could run a Kyle O'Quinn-esque player at center. I don't think
they could just run Simmons as a point center. Honestly,
yeah, that actually, run it like they did with LeBron in 2015, I believe it was, when they would take Tristan Thompson out and they'd run LeBron as primary ball handler, but also the center. Kevin Love and Channing Frye as stretch
4.
Both stretch fours.
With that length, you could run Jalen and you could run Tobias Harris. That's enough length to run a.
Yeah, and then Josh Richardson clamping up, and then Matisse Thybulle at the 2. That's a good team. But the GM in me is screaming that the 76ers are not going to win with their current team, and I think they're going to realize that, and then they're going to do something, and that's going to.
I think they've already. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
Oh, you can go. It's okay.
Okay, I was just going to say, there is validity to the point that there's, a lot of buzz this year coming out of Philadelphia that Simmons will be their guy going into the future. There's precedent with Simmons over Embiid because of Embiid's attitude, his commitment, and his injury concerns, which is definitely a legitimate concern because he didn't play his first 2 years in the NBA. So there's a concern there. There is a risk that you have to take because he's never played more than, I think, 64 games or something in a season. So you have to be, there is a little bit of a worry that he's not going to end up, by the time he's 30, he's going to be broken down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that those 4 years are valuable enough because Embiid's
Yeah, and it's a
contract
risk, and it's a risk you need to take. If you want to try to win a championship.
Because right now they're not going to stop Giannis. As much as Nick wants to convince everybody that
Taco
Celtics
Fall.
win in 7, Taco Fall could stop them. There's a total of negative 3% chance that we can stop Giannis right now, and we need a person who can do that. And Al Horford can even maybe do that. Al Horford stopped Joel Embiid.
No.
Well, he did. He did it
Al
last
Horford
year.
stopped Joel Embiid.
He's a guy off the bench that's extremely helpful defensively.
Exactly. So
Okay, but
whenever we have to take Joel Embiid off for minute management, we'd have Al Horford right there.
But at the same time,
yeah, what were you saying, Nick?
At the same time, I feel like it's too much to give up.
Why?
For Joel Embiid? I feel like he's an outstanding player. I feel like he's an outstanding player, but I feel like the Celtics have a chance of winning a championship with this same core of Brown, Tatum, and Kemba.
But it's a higher chance with Embiid. Embiid's a guy if you want to win it all, and Ainge has definitely shown a willingness for risky moves, like the Kyrie move. Embiid is just his ceiling is a lot higher. As much as I like Jaylen Brown, his ceiling is a lot higher. And Hayward is a guy who you can replicate. His numbers.
Oh yeah.
So the
Hayward part of the deal is no problem. But
the biggest loss, by far the biggest loss, is the Jaylen thing, because he can end up being almost like a Paul George level player. But the hope is that Embiid turns into a worse version of a slightly worse version of a Shaq.
You see, for right now, I think that could win us a championship, and I think that would be a great thing to do. But in the future, I think that would absolutely screw us, losing that much for that.
Yeah, that's a lot of picks.
And no, it's not that many.
Nick, the picks aren't.
It's only one of our rounders. It's only one of our. There's only one of our own, and it's a late round pick. It won't sabotage the future at all.
The
Horford contract would be way too much. And then imagine how much money Embiid's going to want and Tatum's going to want.
Well, we just don't have to.
But Nick, if they win one title, then it doesn't matter because that's all you needed.
And I've also
but I would much rather have Tatum than Embiid on our team. If we get stuck with Embiid with that contract and we can't re-sign Tatum, then we're screwed.
No, they can extend Tatum. They can extend Tatum this summer.
Yeah,
Nick.
Yeah.
We are. I actually have already run the numbers for that. We already have the money to bring Jason Tatum back, and Jaylen Brown's contract, while right here in the display that I'm looking at, it says it's $6.5 million for the next 5 years. That is not true, because Jaylen Brown kicks in with not a max contract, but with a very large
$28 million a year. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know how much Joel Embiid's making? 27.5. So
it's
the money.
How long do we have Embiid for? How long is his contract?
4 years. 3 after this year, and it's the same for Al Horford. But Gordon Hayward's money is basically $33 million. Al Horford's 28. So we actually will prove to cut some costs with this deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But actually, and to the point about picks, that is a very good deal. Jaylen's a good player. He's shown, he's been an excellent player this year, Hayward. But I mean, if you're making that trade, the number one value you're getting is Jaylen Brown. And at the end of the day, you're trading straight up, your best player for Jaylen Brown.
Yes.
So I just feel like the Sixers might even look to move him to a team that's, they can trade him anywhere. They might look to move him to a team that is willing to give up 4 first-round picks, like, say, the Phoenix Suns or something like that. 8 and 4 first-round picks or something like that.
Oh my God!
We saw Paul George, who I don't even think he's right around the same level as Embiid. They gave up 5 first-round picks, all unprotected for him. I mean, I know it's kind of a move they had to make to get Kawhi, but teams will sacrifice their future more than just 2 picks for a guy like Embiid, for a top 10 player.
Also, I have a question about that deal. How did they step around the stipend rule with not being able to trade consecutive picks?
Well, you can trade consecutive picks. You just can't trade picks in consecutive years. So you can trade as many as you want in a single year, but now they can't trade any more until next season.
Oh, okay.
All right. Do you think we've exhausted this topic?
Yeah, I think just about.
Or, Chris, do you want to make one more point? Go ahead.
No, you want to vote on it? See what we say?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll say that it could happen. I'll say that it could happen. It's not totally out there. I don't know how I would feel about it at first. Maybe I'm just undervaluing Embiid, but I really like Jaylen Brown, and I wouldn't want to see him go. But at the same time, if Embiid can be that next step to getting us a championship, then go for it. But at the same time, like Stuart said, he had a good point. who even knows if the Sixers are going to go for this when they can go to another team who's going to give them a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I say he almost certainly will get traded, but I think he'll get traded somewhere else. I mean, he could get traded to Boston's one suitor, but like I feel like there's a better chance they trade him to a worse team for picks instead of necessarily player. But you never know.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no. I think that Jaylen Brown is extremely valuable, and with the picks we're giving up and everything, I don't think it's worth it for the Celtics and the Sixers, honestly, because I think that they could get more, like Nick and Stuart said. So, yeah, go ahead.
So I think that this will happen. I don't think that Embiid's market will be as large as people are expecting it to be. And at the same time, Danny Ainge really does not like to be outbid. So if the deal includes another
Bro, he was a lot.
Well, he doesn't like it. He's
because we thought we were going to get – we were outbid for Cousins. We were outbid for Jimmy Butler. We were outbid for Paul George.
The Paul George deal, I would say that that's because we didn't really have a defined championship window at that period. And if you have your big three being Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker, and Joel Embiid, that is significantly better than having Kemba Walker, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown. And in a league where the playoffs specifically are dominated by stars rather than a complete team, I think that if this trade is on the table, the 76ers will probably take it because I don't think that 4 picks in DeAndre Ayton is in the realm of possibility, considering how good DeAndre Ayton is. But I think if this trade is on the table, I think that both the 76ers and the Celtics will take it.
The last thing I'm going to say, too, is I think that right now Joel Embiid is at his best. I think he's in his prime right now, and I still don't think Jaylen Brown is. I think that he still has that is a possibility. Because Embiid's already, I think 25, and he hasn't really improved
26.
much
from his first regular season.
Point.
I mean, he's just not.
Jaylen Brown's only 3 years younger than him. We have to think about that too.
But he's
but
I
3
think
years
Jaylen's
could mean a lot. Look what it meant.
Yeah,
for
and also
Tatum.
Jaylen, 23 to 26 is a significant jump. I mean, I think that he can continue to get significantly better. Embiid just has not shown an ability to be a super hard worker, and even though he's got all this talent, he just doesn't necessarily, he doesn't produce at the same level as a guy like Anthony Davis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not a lot of people do produce at that level.
Yeah,
but
I feel like he could.
Let's move on to that. Let's move
all
on
right,
to the
so now I say maybe we move to a Bruins one. We only have a couple Bruins ones on here. We kind of wanted to change it up a little bit. So this season that will conclude in the coming months is the last chance that the Bruins main core, which I consider to be Patrice Bergeron, Zdeno Chara, and Brad Marchand, have at winning the Stanley Cup. Chris, do you want to start or?
Yeah, sure.
Go.
I say no way, because I think that the Bruins right now, I think Chara maybe because he could end up retiring because he's getting up there and, he's getting slower and all that. But for Bergeron and Marchand, they're still amazing right now. They're the 2 star players in the league. And we have so much diversity and talent on the team right now that I think, which we won the President's Cup right now, then I think we're the best team in the league. And we're still making trades. We did that whole Coyle situation where I think that was a huge trade for us.
That was huge.
Yeah, we have DeBrusque, McAvoy, all these young guys coming in, and they're proving to be, amazing right now. So I think that for the years to come right now with the young talent we have, I think we'll be good for a while.
I'm going to say that I agree with you that this isn't our last chance, but I think that next year will be our last chance because one thing that you and I have been talking about a lot, Chris, has been Torrey Krug and whether or not he's going to decide to stay with the Bruins or not. If he ends up leaving after this year, that's going to be a huge blow to not only our power play, but at the same time our defensive core. So, I mean, if we don't win it this year, yeah.
If Chara also leaves, because then that'll be 2 big hits. But if he doesn't, then have McAvoy and Chara at the first line for defense.
That's true. I don't think Chara is going to retire after this year. I think he'll retire next year. Mm-hmm. But I don't see him being as good this year as I don't see him being as good next year as he is this year. I could definitely see him declining a little bit, even though he's been super consistent. But if we lose this year and then we lose Krug next year, obviously we're still going to have a chance at winning. But then at the same time, after that, if we don't win, then that's going to kind of be it. Because at the same time, not only Bergeron and Marchand and those guys are aging, but even down the line, we have guys like Krejci who's aging. Even Coyle's starting to get up there.
And Krug.
Coyle's prime right now.
28.
Yeah, he's in his prime, but from now till next year, he's going to be on the decline a little bit. I feel like this year...
Nick's on the decline.
I am on the decline.
Yeah, but listen to the Stidham takes. He's definitely on the decline.
Yeah.
Yep. Stidham already peaked.
Well, what I'm saying is
honestly,
that
probably
I feel
true.
like this year we have a very good chance of winning. But if we don't win this year, I just have a small feeling that we might choke this year because
if they don't win,
that's what happened.
It'll be really
That's what
bad.
happened. That's what happened in the year that we won the President's Trophy in 2014, which we will get to later. But we won the President's Trophy and then we choked. So I'm just scared that will happen again this year. But I'm not ruling it out. Next year we're going to be a contender, but just not as much as this year. And then after that, I think Char is going to be gone. Krejci is going to be a hell of a lot worse. Because last year I would say was Krejci's prime.
Yeah,
he's on the way down from there.
So even I think, which hopefully not, I think we're going to do everything in our power to keep Krug. But if he does leave, we saw this year we just signed Jeremy Lauzon and we got like Connor Clifton, all these young guys who are also holding their own too. So even if we lose him, who is a huge offensive defenseman, which we don't really have much of that other than Lauzon, who just signed. But I think
why are you playing the guitar? We're on the grid view. They can see you. Well, screw it. That's his opinions on the Bruins. He doesn't care.
Anyway, yeah, I still think that we're gonna have enough talent in the defensive department that we can still make it to the Cup. I think. Never mind playoffs. I still think the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
I agree that we have some depth guys, but I'm not super, super high on Clifton to fill in for Krug. Krug is a big step above Clifton.
Well, no, I was saying, who I think is actually worse than Clifton right now, but Lauzon, because he's an offensive defenseman. He's fast. And I think that's where Krug really plays his role,
Maybe even Grzelcyk as well.
Yeah, Grzelcyk too. Mm-hmm. They're both power
play. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I'm just looking at these ages right here. And I'm inclined to agree with Nick that not this year, but next year will be the last year the Bruins have to really contend for the Cup, because a team that's been as dominant as the Bruins this year, obviously the President Cup winners, doesn't fall off a cliff that drastically. I mean, obviously Torrey Krug has been very important all the way from pretty much 2013 until now.
Yeah, that year that was huge.
Yeah. But also, I mean, we have a lot of pretty good young talent right here. Obviously, we still have Charlie McAvoy, David Pasternak's. Really, I didn't realize how young he was until I looked at this right now.
I know, it's crazy. He's like 24.
23, something like that.
Yeah.
He's turned 24 recently.
Oh, wow.
Like May or something.
Oh, cool.
But, yeah. I think that, team isn't going to hit that steep of a decline over one off season unless we lose multiple players, being Chara, Krug.
So I'm having trouble holding it together with Stewart on the guitar.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Stewart, unmute.
Hell no, I don't want to hear his guitar.
Yes, let's hear it.
I don't even know what you're talking. I only know like 3 Bruins players. I'm just showing some chords right now.
Well,
okay, now mute.
All right.
I yield the floor.
All right, yeah.
Bruins gonna win this year and then gonna contend again next year.
Whatever Nick said is wrong.
Hey, that's also what I said.
What?
Stewart.
So you're still wrong.
Damn, that's tough.
Yeah.
All right. What'd you say?
Did you want to say something?
I mean, no, that's basically all that I have. Just, I mean, if Krug leaves, that's a big loss. But if he stays, I feel like we'll be around the same next year. Maybe just a tiny bit worse than we are this year. But, who knows? Cassidy and Sweeney are a very interesting duo. I wouldn't even be surprised if we go after a pretty big free agent, which would be kind of entertaining. We don't have
We
a
have-
super amount of
Unless
cap
we're-
space, but what'd you say?
I don't think we have the money to do that at all. Unless
Yeah,
we're-
exactly. But they're a smart group of guys. Maybe we'll draft something elite like what we did Pasternak, and he'll be a huge asset right off the bat. But we never know. I think that this year's our best year to win the cup. If we don't win it this year, then I'm going to be really pissed off. But
Yeah. So I think that the Krug situation is obviously huge because he's one of our star defensemen. But I think we have so much talent in the defensive department that I think we're fine. And offense, really, actually. We're one of the very few teams that can say that all 4 lines are dangerous,
Oh, yeah.
Like,
The ability to roll 4 lines is super important.
yeah. So that's basically it. I think that we got for Bergeron and Marchand and all these guys, I think, and Krejci, really. I think that it's probably going to be 3 years. I'll say 3 or maybe 4. 3 years probably that I think that they can have that chance. Krejci is on the decline, I think, of anybody, and Chara also, Krejci and Chara. But for Bergeron and Marchand, I mean, has no sign of slowing down at all.
Oh, yeah. He's tearing it up.
Yeah.
87 points.
Yeah. So I still give him at least 3 years.
All right. I mean, I hope it happens. I could see that possibly, but, you never know after this year. A lot of things could change after this year if we lose Chara and Krug. But, we'll just have to wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Stuart, you're welcomed back.
Yes.
We're going to move into something that you understand. So the
Who won
next
the
take
debate?
that we have,
Well, I was listening,
what'd you say?
but- so who won?
What'd you say?
The Bruins
Okay.
Who won or
won
did
the
Tris
Stanley
win?
Cup this year. That's who won.
Nick,
What?
hope they lose, you're sad.
Boston won.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
I hope they lose just so Nick is all like,
Whoa.
Oh my
Don't put that, people.
no, Nick was like, I remember last year they had a game 7 in the first round, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe.
and Nick was like, dude, I'm so nervous, dude. What if we lose? And I literally
That
texted
dude,
him-
Toronto?
If
I
we
was
lost that
I texted him at like 4.
Toronto? Is that what you're talking about?
I was like, they won.
against the Maple Leafs, yeah.
Dude, I was
Maple
so
Leafs.
confident. Anderson always blows. in the
What?
seven.
I was not.
Anderson
Hey,
has
Nick,
never won 7.
We went down 3-2.
Yeah, well,
Nick, what did you do?
Dude,
when
Dude,
they
if we
lost game
play
7?
the Leafs this year, I'm scared they're gonna get revenge on us. I'm always scared when we play them.
we're not going to play them, though. I don't think there's a chance.
We
with this-
might.
Nick, what if
McDavid's, never mind. Forget
Nick, what if
the other guy.
Nick, what did you do last year when they lost in game 7?
I was so mad. I was
Yeah, I was
incredibly
mad.
mad.
Did you cry?
Like I was at the point where I was watching it, and when they scored that 4th goal, I just like threw the remote at the TV and shut it. I was pissed.
That's how I felt.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Now let's move back to some Celtics points.
Let's
The
go.
Celtics' big 3 underperformed. This is a bold
this is my
prediction.
take.
Or
Well,
yeah,
it's not
that's Stuart's
it's
take.
actually not as hot as you might think.
It's not that bold, yeah.
Okay,
so,
so the
Stuart, do you want us to kick it off? Or
yeah, sure. So the thing that I've always thought about the Celtics big 3 is okay. So that team is my favorite Celtics team I think ever. I really love because I know the whole roster. Like I love each of the players. I love Kevin Garnett. But the thing is that like that was like the peak of each of those guys' like careers. Like I think Pierce was 30, Garnett's 31, Ray Allen also was 31. Rondo was pretty young, but they also had a lot of veterans. James Posey, PJ Brown was getting up there. Eddie House was still pretty young. But for the most part, that team was older. And the thing is that the talent. If you take Pierce, Garnett, and Ray Allen, that's probably 3 of the top 15 dudes from that era. Say the 2000s. You would hope that team would win at least 2 championships, like at its base, but they only did win 1. I think most of that can be attributed to age. They got together kind of late, and then secondly, Garnett's injury in 2009, because that year they started the year. I think it was like 27-2, like one of the best teams, easily the best team in the league until the Garnett injury.
Really fun to watch
Against Utah, and they still went 7 in the conference semis. But so in general, even though that team was great, fun to watch, good for the city of Boston to get another championship. For the Celtics to win another title, it ended up not being maybe after they won their first championship, it seemed like they could win 3 in a row, and they only ended up making 1 more and they lost. So in general, they did not quite reach the expectations that many had at that time.
Yeah, I think that obviously it was a trade that needed to happen. If I were to go back to 2007, summer of 2007, I'm obviously doing that trade again if I'm Danny Ainge. But at the same time, I agree with Stuart that they definitely did underperform. Everybody who talks about Kevin Garnett, a lot of people don't like Kevin Garnett. I don't like that a lot of people don't like Kevin Garnett, but a lot of people don't like Kevin Garnett. And the big point, like every athlete has like one point where it's like, oh yeah, but you didn't do this. It's like Kevin Garnett's such an emotional player, and then everyone's like, oh yeah, go yell to only one NBA championship. And I mean, they're right. They were all, I would say that they were all, except maybe Pierce, they were all right after their primes had just ended is when they got together.
Yeah.
Like Kevin Garnett was
KG was
an MVP.
He had one in 2004. He was still pretty much playing at the same level as he had at his peak, but he was definitely reaching that older. He's 31, I think. And
then Ray
definitely
Allen was definitely not in his. He was definitely not in his prime because I mean we always forget that Ray Allen had bounce.
Yeah,
Ray Allen was a high flyer,
but
and then
by that point,
he
he
was
was
being like one of the best 3-point shooters ever.
Yeah. Yeah, when he was in Milwaukee, he was basically a slasher, not really. He could shoot threes, but by the time he came to Boston, he was more of a catch and shoot guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that it's not that outlandish to say that they underperformed, considering. I mean, I don't think it was necessarily in their control whether they underperformed because it was kind of just. Like for the first year, it was the right place. And it was the right time for the first year, but it would have been nice to see them compete in 2005 together against the Pistons, another team that I really like, the starless Pistons. I would love to see the two mentalities of basketball go against each other.
I mean, they did play in 2008, but that Pistons team was significantly worse. Yeah, and they didn't have Ben Wallace.
They were on the decline then.
I think Ben Wallace.
Was that also the season that they traded Chauncey Billups for Allen Iverson? I think it was.
It was the year after.
Okay.
It was the year after, but they also didn't have Ben Wallace. He had already gone to Chicago and then Cleveland by that point.
But yeah, the team was not what they were. I mean, I think it could have been a Jordan-esque team, like Jordan-esque versus the Pistons in the 90s and the 80s. That could have been the dynamic between the Celtics and the Pistons. Obviously, not as violent. But
there. You have Rasheed Wallace and Kevin Garnett. There'd definitely be at least one playoff brawl.
Oh yeah,
there'd be at least one playoff brawl.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Kevin Garnett's documentary is coming out in the fall, and I'm so excited for that. It's just gonna be like 10 parts of him trash talking.
Nick's gonna be in it actually.
Yeah. Nick was the first person that he ever trash talked. Nick's never been the same since. He was gonna go to the league.
Yeah, look at him.
Kevin Garnett ruined him.
Just look at him.
Oh my god. Yeah, I was fit to be a basketball star until Kevin Garnett shot me down. Anyway, I agree with your points that the Celtics could have won more championships with that core group, but at the same time, I don't think you can complain when we won one because we did win a championship, and we got to another one.
We won a championship.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Did you know
I mean,
that?
There's a point to be made, like, when people talk about Kawhi and the Raptors, for example, that was a success, even though it only lasted 1 year.
Exactly.
But that's a little different, though, because, like,
there was the expectation that he was only going to be there for 1 year.
Yeah, and that, the Celtics, like, this is a team that was built to be a dynasty.
I mean, you could also say that the Heat, the super team, was a disappointment to a certain degree with the not one, not
4
two,
straight finals.
Not 4,
yeah,
not 5,
but nobody really thought that was going to happen. But obviously. 4 finals in 4 years was pretty good, and 2 titles.
Two titles.
Yeah.
I mean, you would expect that team to have beaten Dirk, though. That was a really well.
That's a different
coached team.
Should have won that finals.
What
was I gonna say? But yeah, I mean, like, that Celtics team was so well constructed with those 3 guys because you have Pierce, the kind of ball dominant scorer, he can do it all. Then you have Ray, who doesn't need the ball to score, he can get it, and then KG, the defensive specialist, who can also give you 15, 20 on the other end. So it's really the perfect team for that era, or almost any era of basketball. And you just you wish that they had gotten together in 2005, as Chandler said, or something like that.
Yeah.
And been like a mini dynasty in Boston. While the Red Sox were winning in 2007, while the Patriots were losing in the Super Bowl, but but either And they did get one, which is a big deal. But I mean, it was a very tough playoff run. They went 7 games in the first round with Atlanta, then 7 games with Cleveland, then 6 games with both Detroit and LA. So it was definitely a tough run there. So I don't know if they underperformed, but they definitely didn't reach quite the expectation.
Yeah. Chris, do you have anything?
I don't really know much about it, but I would agree with you guys, I guess. I think that because I was a big Thunder fan back then. Was that when it was Durant and Westbrook and James Harden?
That was like 2012.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Well,
Around that time, though.
that was towards the end of the Big 3, yeah.
Russell Westbrook was just about to be drafted when we won the first of our rings.
Okay, well, so
For James Harden,
you guys are probably overhyping the Big 3. I know that's probably like a bold saying, but
I don't think so.
I think there was a bunch of good players in that era, and I think that you were that there were 3 of the best players in the league then, I think, right? And I don't know. I wouldn't.
Well, I mean, what I'm talking about in an aspect of like the 2000s, not the 2010s.
Like 2008, 2009, 2010.
Between the years of, say, 2004 to 2010, if you take those 3 dudes, you probably rank them all at least in the top 20. And Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett could probably be both top 10. KG definitely top 10.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
Paul
if you're going
Pierce,
from like –
I'd say definitely by far
Ray
top
Allen
10.
was just a shooter, though, wasn't he, pretty much?
Who?
By the time
Ray
he got to Boston, he had lost most of his bounce. He was more of just a catch and shoot. I mean, he could still give you 25. He was still an all-star, but he wasn't like – he wasn't going to go out there and give you 40.
He was like Klay Thompson minus the really great defense.
Yeah, he could defend, but he wasn't like – yeah.
I mean, the best comparison for assembling the Big 3 now, I would say, is probably if you put like prime Klay Thompson, Paul George, and prime Draymond Green together.
Well,
KG's not exactly Draymond Green, but
yeah, he's a lot better than
you would
Draymond.
expect
The Spurs were very good, right? And then that Tim era? Yeah, so I mean, we had them. The Lakers are good.
Pistons were still pretty good.
Yeah, the Pistons. So
LeBron in Cleveland. Yeah, there was definitely a lot of talent.
There was
Denver was in Melo.
Cleveland, LeBron.
In Denver.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. There was a lot of talent, but
like I think that one championship, I think that was pretty good, and I think 2 would have been nice, but
2009 they should have won.
Yeah,
but they just didn't have KG, who was probably their best player. So they couldn't guard Dwight Howard in that semi-series, and they blew a 3-2 lead, and we lost in Game 7.
We always forget how good Dwight Howard was.
Yeah, he was amazing.
He was a beast.
I mean,
he really was.
Double. Has he averaged a double in every season, or did he fail to last year?
He definitely failed to last year.
Yeah,
he barely played last year, and this year he's only averaging like 7 and 6. It's just the stuff that he does like defensively.
I mean, I think it was up until 2019. Every season, he averaged a double.
Even in Charlotte,
Dwight Howard's trash. No,
even in Charlotte, he was still giving them 18 and 15 a game.
Yeah.
Celtics could use him.
Yeah.
All right. Does anybody else have any other points that they want to make about the subject before we move on, or no?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Washington, he was just short. Washington, he was 13 and 9.
He barely played, but actually, just one more point is that Celtics team, there is a bit of like revisionist history. They almost did lose to Cleveland in the second round of that year. So if they had lost that game, that changes everything about that team. Because they probably don't. Yeah. I think, I don't know, one of them was a free agent that coming off season. I'm not certain who, but yeah.
Kevin, KG. It was Kevin Garnett, because he was like, I'm not sure if I want to re-sign with because he was going to go to Phoenix. And he was like, I'm not going to re-sign with Phoenix.
Yeah. But they ended up re-signing him, so.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Stuart, you can go back to your guitar.
Oh, we're going back to hockey? Wait, what's this one?
We're about to go into our last Bruins take of the day.
I'm excited about this one.
This one is going to be good.
Is this the Chara one?
No.
Oh,
we kind of talked about that one in the last one.
Okay.
Yeah. If the Bruins hadn't traded Tyler Seguin in July of 2013, they would have won the Stanley Cup the 2013-14 season. Chris, do you want to start? Because you're very passionate about this.
Yeah, I'm excited here. I got to hold it all. All right. So in Sagan's final season as a Bruin, that was that season with lockout. So like the players were protesting, so there was only a 48-game season. But he put up 16 goals and 16 assists, 32 points, and he had I think it was like 16 minutes of ice average, something like that, which is like a second or third lineman. So nothing great. But then the next year, which that was the year also, they went to the Cup and lost against the Blackhawks.
Mhm.
And he got traded that 2 weeks after or something?
Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks after, on July 4th.
Yeah. So that next year with Dallas, he had 37 goals and 47 assists for 84 points, which is absolutely insane. That's crazy numbers. And he averaged over a point a game. So Sagan had 84 points, which is the highest. And the highest by a Bruins player was Krejci that year with only 69. So there's a huge difference there. What, Nick?
That's crazy.
Oh, yeah. And so now that year, right, the Bruins still had a great regular season. Did they win the President's Trophy?
We won the President's Trophy that year, yes.
Yeah,
So
117.
they ended up getting knocked out in the second round of the playoffs.
By Montreal.
Yeah, by the Canadiens. And then
I hate that series so much.
But so the year before, they were in the Stanley Cup Finals. And yeah, the year before they were in the Stanley Cup Finals, right? And then they lost Sagan, got knocked out in the second round. And they still had the President's Trophy the year before, right? When they went to the Cup.
No, I think Chicago won it 2013.
Oh, okay. But they still had, I think it was
I think they were like first or second in the East.
I think they had around the same record though. I'm pretty sure it was just like the other teams were worse this year or that year. But
yeah.
Anyway, so that's showing how valuable he was to the team, because I think that his playoff appearances, he was a huge offensive threat, which they didn't really have. They didn't have like a crazy goal scorer like we do now with Pasternak, and I think that he was that guy. And I think he definitely wouldn't have put up the same numbers because he had like 84 points. Is that what I said? With
Yeah, 84.
Because he also averaged like 3 or 4 extra minutes of ice time because he started as the starting center. But
yeah,
I still think that he still would have put up great numbers because no matter what, he was playing unbelievable that year, and he would have been the offensive threat that would have won them the 2014 Cup, I think. Yeah.
Well, Chris, last night you predicted my stance on this in the chat, and I'm going to let you know what you think. Would the Bruins have won the Stanley Cup that year? Hell yeah, we would have. Because that year, not only did we win the President's Trophy, but we had Jerome Iginla.
Yeah.
So we had Marchand, we had Bergeron, and we had Iginla, all scoring 30-goal seasons. On that first line, we had Marchand, Bergeron, and Eriksson. Eriksson grossly underperformed that year. So if we replaced Eriksson with Sagan, that would have completely changed our team. Imagine having a first line of Marchand, Bergeron, and Sagan how he was that 2014 year when he was like in his prime, I would say.
Yeah.
But a couple years after that, he was very good as well. And then on our second line, we have Krejci and Iginla and Lucic. Iginla on our second line. That's so deep. That's incredibly deep. And one of the problems when you brought up that Montreal series that we had was getting past Carey Price. All year, Carey Price had our number. But if we had Sagan on our team, like you said, we were missing like a sharpshooting type of player. Sagan,
and he's a crazy playmaker too. He had a crap ton of assists that year.
47.
Yeah.
And if we were gonna have but he's especially known for his sharpshooting abilities.
Yeah.
If we had him and he's even scored maybe 2 or 3 goals against Carey Price, that's it. And he probably would have scored much more.
Yeah,
we would have definitely won that series.
Find a way to score. That's what we needed, I think, against Carey Price.
We couldn't get past him. That's the thing. He knew Marchand. He knew Bergeron. If we had Sagan on that team, we would have absolutely screwed Montreal. I mean, I bet it would have still gone to 6 or 7. But after that, we had every other team's number that year except Montreal. We would have beat the Rangers. Oh, yes. We would have beat the Rangers, and we would have beat the Kings in the Stanley Cup final easily.
Yeah. I agree.
I have a couple points. I agree with you guys, but I will say that Tyler Seguin was somewhat underwhelming in the playoffs that year, given he was in a difficult situation. But he had a goal and 2 assists. But having said that, that when you put it into perspective that he also had Jamie Benn on his team, who during the regular season had 34 goals and 45 assists, only 5 points in total less than Tyler Seguin had, that just makes it even more impressive that he wasn't just a high volume player who was just putting up a bunch of stats, just filling up a stat sheet but not winning games. I mean, him and Ben willed that team to the wild card in that season. So I think I absolutely agree with you guys. You really need that creative force. It's really in any sport. You need a certain just an it factor to break down, especially a goaltender in hockey. Stuart's just really vibing right here. Kind of messing up my thoughts. But you take Tyler Seguin off of the Stars and put him on the Bruins. The Stars are absolutely not making the playoffs, and then the Bruins are probably I wouldn't say walking, but they are definitely winning the Stanley Cup that year.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah, and I think
Go
not only
Bruins,
but for the years to come also, I think that, I mean, Seguin has only gotten better from then, right? I mean, he's by far one of the best players in the league, right?
Well,
Top 10.
I would say that he was better those years than he is now, but I'd still say he's up there.
Well, that's also because he has a lot more talent on the Stars this year. You know, the Stars are a serious contender, where back then they really weren't.
That's true.
But still,
and imagine we had 5 30-goal scorers on our team.
Oh, my God.
Exactly.
Seguin, Bergeron, Marchand, Iginla. Oh, no, 4. I'm sorry. Even 4 30-goal scorers. That's incredible.
and Antonakis.
Yep.
Yeah, we would have been winning the cup that year. There's no way. And I'm so pissed that we didn't win that year. But, whatever.
What did you do when they lost to the Blackhawks?
I went to bed because I thought we won. We had 2 minutes left. We're up. We're up by 1.
Yeah, we're up 2-1.
Then they scored 2 goals. Didn't even have to go to overtime.
And then you just jumped off of the lake.
But, I mean, I see why the Bruins made the deal. Seguin was kind of crazy at the time with his partying and stuff like that. And we were coming off a Stanley Cup final loss where everybody was kind of scarred. So, I could see why we traded him. But I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it.
They didn't even trade him because of that. I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying why they traded him, but you know why and stuff, right?
Well, but that's why I was saying that.
I'm
kind of a milder version.
Don't know
why. Yeah, why did they trade him? It's okay.
I'm intrigued now.
The Nosebleeds podcast occasionally. Yeah.
He slept with another player's wife.
Oh, man, that's bad. Wait a minute. I have a point now. I have a point about this. Dude, there's no way they could have brought him back. The team chemistry would have been terrible.
No, screw the other guy.
Who was it? Did we know?
I think. Let me check. I think it was Thornton.
They should just
screw Sean Thornton.
Exactly.
Who cares?
I think. I'm not sure about that.
He cost us so many penalty minutes in that series against Montreal. Screw that.
I mean, isn't that kind of his role?
What? Well, that was his role, but it cost us pentenalties.
So they should have just traded him instead.
I don't know hockey enough to argue that.
Like I keep saying, Lucic was like a better version of him, I think, at the time.
I hated Lucic that year.
We should have just traded that guy that he slept with the
his head. The Canadians were in his head.
I don't know if it was Thornton. I think it was someone.
It might have been. I don't really know.
It was I don't know, man.
Nick,
you were gonna say something.
Deal. Whether or not it was personal or not, we played one of the best players. So
that's also like rumored. I don't know if that's 100% true, but that's been.
But it had something to do with
a pretty good reason.
Behind the scenes things. It was nothing to do with his playing abilities.
Exactly. Yeah.
Peter Chiarelli's an idiot.
He was.
End of story.
Yeah.
Do we have any other takes or what?
We do have one more, but what were you going to say, Chris?
No, I was just saying about Seguin. I mean, he was just rising as like a better and better player each year.
Oh yeah. Do we have time for one more, guys, or?
I'm game.
All right, good. Okay. Yeah, so we'll go for it.
Patriots or
We'll
Celtics?
return to the Patriots for the last one.
All right, cool.
Bill Belichick will win another Super Bowl with the
yeah.
Patriots. Who
I
wants
say
to
no.
kick it off?
I'll start.
Yes.
I just think he's a little bit too old, and I'm not a doctor or anything, but like something that he's kind of overweight, and like he's getting up there in age. Like I'm just being
You think
honest.
he's gonna die? He's not gonna choose to leave the Pats. He's gonna die.
I mean, I don't. I just think like
What if he go out? Oh my God!
I mean, generally speaking,
Imagine he has a heart attack in the AFC Championship. Boom, dead.
People who are overweight, like who aren't healthy, live less years. So I think he needs to like get on a diet or something. He's not like grossly overweight or anything, but he definitely
He's not in good shape, but he's a coach. He's not running around.
He needs to just like he just needs to be careful because I don't want the Patriots like
hop on the
really
treadmill
watching
with
the game.
Nike.
Jared Stidham's gonna throw the 4th interception of the game in a pivotal moment, and he's just gonna be like, but since he's Belichick, he's gonna be like, I'm okay. Just please call an ambulance.
And then he's just trying to call plays and then just
I don't know if you've ever seen the what's this movie Vice, where Dick Cheney's like, I think I'm gonna need an ambulance. That's he's gonna be like. He's gonna be like, I believe I need to call 911 in the middle of a playoff game, and they have to like bring the stretcher out and take him out.
What?
Then he has to retire. No, I just think I don't think he has that many years left. I think he'll retire.
Jesus Christ, I agree, but for very different reasons.
Why? Why? I mean, do you
I
honestly
don't think
he's
he has a
gonna coach?
lot of years left.
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm
he's
trying
gonna
to
go
say.
out on his own volition.
That's what I'm trying to say. No, I didn't say he was gonna do that. I'm just saying that I
He's
don't
only
think he has.
62 years old.
I just don't think he has that many years left based on his not
Of
years
life.
of living, but years of coaching. I mean, look at John Madden, but he's like 90 and he's not in great shape either. But I just don't think I think the stress of coaching,
I agree.
coached for many years, and he's getting older. His body's worn down. I think at a certain point he's gonna just want to step away before
I
we
wouldn't
get
be
to that
surprised.
point
I wouldn't
again.
be surprised if he just moves up to the GM role
Yeah,
exclusively. and it's
less involved
Josh-
because you don't.
I hope not. That would suck.
'cause he's right. He's only
Yeah,
the
I know he's
GM.
not a great GM,
It
but
just ruins his legacy.
oh yeah, I mean to a certain degree, it's kind of like Phil Jackson with the Knicks.
Yeah,
But,
well, he was so old that it was just like
Yeah,
he had no idea
or
what was
Phil
going
Jackson with the
on.
Lakers, and then becoming the GM of the Knicks, and then
Yeah,
trading for Joakim Noah. I think that was.
I remember reading a story about how like the Knicks tried to call him about a decision like the day after he got hired at 9 p.m. He was already asleep because he had gone to bed for the night like the old person. So they just couldn't even get advice. He was the president of the team.
All right.
What happens with Belichick?
I don't think that Belichick has enough years left for the Patriots to retool and win a Super Bowl. I think that he'll make the playoffs for 2 more years, and then I think he'll probably miss the playoffs for 1 year, and then he's going to retire.
Oof.
Actually, no. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs this year. Why did I say that? They're not going to make the
Really?
Only one.
You just contradicted yourself.
No,
Tim.
I think they will, dude. 7 teams, and if they go
Boom.
9,
Got that on recording.
They can get.
I think they're going 8-8.
Okay.
I don't think that they'll be.
There's 7 teams.
right
I really
there.
think they can get in there at 7. But even if they do go,
Especially if Newton starts. If Newton ends up starting,
Oh,
that even
okay.
higher.
Especially if
okay.
Jared Stidham's cut. Jared
I
Stidham
was
gets cut,
never
and I'll say
low
they
on
can make the
Newton.
playoffs.
All I'm saying is that it's up in the air until week 1. I wouldn't be surprised if Stidham ends up winning the job.
I would.
I'd be
I
so
like
surprised.
Newton.
I'd start crying.
Okay,
I'd be
Chris,
really
go ahead.
upset. Yeah, I would not have any. I don't have any faith in
Yeah,
Jared Stidham.
let Chris go.
I
ahead.
say yes. I still think that.
Wow, look at that.
What?
I was
Right
just
now-
surprised.
Their defense is still extremely good. You know they have one of the best defenses in the league.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was losing a lot of faith in Belichick, to be honest with you, when during the draft and all that, where he was making weird picks, But like there was Jake Fromm on the list and like way late in the draft, and we didn't get him, and I was kind of pissed off.
Morgan.
Maybe that was a good decision.
I don't love
after
Jake
the-
Fromm. He doesn't have a lot of arm talent. He's kind of.
Well,
he's
I
like
was-
a,
But
I was
for
going-
when he was available, I think it was a pretty good selection
Yeah.
to make.
I
Over
mean, I
that
would have just
kicker.
as soon picked James Morgan.
Why did they
That
pick
was
a kicker?
That was
Yeah,
stupid.
Justin Rohrhauser's pick really bugged me.
That was the worst.
You
pick
could
of the
have
draft,
got
arguably.
Rodrigo Blankenship as a UDFA.
I'd rather just
Exactly.
not have.
I
I'd rather
wasn't
just not have the kicker.
Yeah.
But I
I'll
mean,
kick the-
despite
I'll kick the Patriots.
Belichick's drafting abilities, I still feel like he can craft a team of undrafted free
Get it?
agents and win a
Kraft.
Super Bowl, honestly, because that's
Not
what he
against,
does.
not against the
Robert
Chiefs
Kraft.
and the Ravens.
Let me
Also,
continue.
like Bob
What else?
Kraft's getting up there too.
Oh my God.
He's like almost 90 though.
No, he's not.
Isn't he really old?
He
All right,
looks
okay.
old.
But
His
Whatever.
son
All right,
basically
Chris, go
runs.
ahead.
His son basically
I
runs the
was
team.
losing a lot of faith in him because
He's
of
79.
everything. And,
Okay, 79.
he
Hey, it was his birthday a
got
couple
to-
days ago. Happy birthday, Bob Kraft.
Oh my god.
Sorry, Chris.
All right, yeah,
Anyway.
Chris, keep going.
But then you see now where he had a plan going into this where now they got Cam Newton, so they got an experienced good quarterback, and I think no matter everything he's done, like even some things that you think are questionable, he always comes back with like a better reason and does something crazy where that puts us in an opportunity to win. So I think if he keeps going right now this season and we can get some more offense and more guys for Cam to throw to, like another third or fourth string, then I think that we'll be pretty good. And I think that we have a chance of winning if our defense still performs like they did last year too. I mean, for the next 2 or 3 years, I still think we have a chance.
I agree with you. I mean, I feel like if we win another Super Bowl, it's going to be because of Belichick.
Yeah.
But
I agree with that.
I wouldn't be
Not
surprised
Stidham.
if
Definitely not Stidham.
Not Stidham.
I wouldn't be – all right. Okay, not going to return to that. I wouldn't be surprised if Belichick coaches for like another 5-6 years. He
Whoa.
seems to enjoy the
I
job.
feel it.
But
And I
do
feel
we
like he
just,
wants-
Did you not get my point about his?
Well, look. I feel like Belichick is motivated to
Yeah, but,
win a Super Bowl
dude,
without
Father-
Brady. So he's
Father
going to
Time
go
is
until he
undefeated,
doesn't.
and he's not in good health. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
How do you know
after
that?
6 or 7 years,
Look
he
at
still
him.
hasn't. I know that is
Just
true.
looking at him on the sideline.
Nick, have you
He's
watched
kinda
Draft Day?
Burly.
Draft Day is a really
But-
good movie. And the GM's dad was the coach, and the kid fired him because he was too old. He thought he was going to
Oh my
die.
God. Well,
I don't know
Literally
if you're
was-
quite
I
there
think-
with Belichick, but like honestly
I
though, I'm
think-
just saying like I think that Belichick's a smart guy, and like I don't think if he thinks that the stress is getting to him as he's getting older, he's not going to want to
okay.
coach for that long. Like I'm making an assumption that when you get to that age, there is a point. His legacy is definitely set. He's got 8 Super Bowls because he has 2 as the defensive coordinator for the Giants.
Yes.
Yep.
He's like, you know what? I just want to retire and go to Florida or whatever, like, or something. Like, I know that you're saying that he I'm sure he does want to win a Super Bowl without Brady, but if he doesn't, it's not the end of the world, and
Yeah.
I'm sure he just wants to be happy.
I
If he
agree with
goes,
you were saying earlier, where I think Belichick is really going to try to do whatever he can to win now to prove
Yeah.
that, like, it was all him. He's like the GOAT, not really Brady. So, yeah. Go ahead, Nick.
I mean, I agree with you, Stuart. If he goes for like 5-6 years and hasn't won it, then he's going to be like, okay, screw it. But I feel like he'll put in an extra year or 2 just to try and make that push for the Super Bowl.
I could
If
say
he
3 or
can
4 at
see
least.
that the team is
Yeah.
on a downward slope and he's like, all right, this team's screwed for the next 5 years, I'm going to dip. Like, yeah, I could see him doing that. But if he sees some potential in Jared Stidham or in the rest of the team,
Dude.
I feel like he'll stay.
Don't even
what was it?
engage. Don't even
What was I
engage.
going to say? Oh yeah. What do you guys? My question actually is, what do you guys think will happen to the legacy of like the Patriots dynasty if he does actually win a Super Bowl?
Oh my God.
Well, the
Do we
dynasty
start-
can change without Brady. And I don't think
Do we start to like hold Belichick at a higher standard than Brady? Because I know
For sure.
I hold Brady at just a slight edge over Belichick when I
Yeah, I do too.
but pretty
I
close,
agree.
like 51-49. But
Mhm.
like if Belichick wins, then it definitely the power shifts to him because like
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for
especially if
sure.
you're able to build a roster that's able to win.
Well,
That
because
would
then
be
Belichick can
incredible.
realistically say that he made Tom Brady. Like, especially
He did.
it depends on how he does.
He's
I mean,
actually his
he really
dad.
did.
You just
Yeah,
didn't know.
let's go.
You just didn't
But
even know.
no, you can realistically say if Belichick wins another one and Brady doesn't do super well in Tampa Bay, though I don't think that if he does, it would be entirely his fault, just because, as Stuart said, Father Time is undefeated. I think that Belichick Belichick fans could realistically argue that Belichick made Brady. Brady wasn't great without him. Therefore, Belichick is significantly more valuable to the Patriots.
Okay.
Now, obviously, they're both incredibly valuable, but I don't think that Belichick is going to win another Super Bowl, and I think, in fact, that he will be gone. I said last episode that I think he was going to be gone after this upcoming season, just because everything's so uncertain. I don't think that's going to happen now. I think he's going to stay for 2 to 3 more years, and then because I think it gets to the point where eventually Josh McDaniels can't keep turning down offers, and he is going to be our next head coach. That's guaranteed. It's not guaranteed because nothing.
He has been a head coach before,
and he was
of
really
the Broncos, and
he
that's
was really bad at it.
Well, remember they started the year 5-0, and then they didn't make the playoffs,
Yes.
and they beat the Patriots, and he's all like,
Oh yeah, every coordinator that Belichick has ever had beats the Patriots. Matt Patricia beat the Patriots.
Yeah.
Matt Patricia's a terrible
my
head coach.
God. Now
He's a
that's a
terrible
coach.
head coach.
Now that's a coach that really needs to,
Belichick
Yeah, man,
lets
treadmill.
them win so he looks better. He'll be like, oh, yeah, I made these guys.
he needs
so
to watch
they can beat
himself.
me.
I mean, no offense,
right.
but he needs to, be careful.
Oh, my God.
Look at him, man. He's probably gonna get fired anyway. So.
Yeah, it's true.
He's sucking right. Imagine he comes back to New England.
He's sucking wind. That's what he's sucking.
I was thinking that. I wasn't gonna say it, but I was thinking that, Stuart.
God.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna come back to New England.
I don't think so.
Belichick, unless
Matt Patricia's head coach. That's my worst nightmare.
No, not as head coach, as defensive coordinator.
I could see it, but I don't think it's that likely. I wish we'd kept Brian Flores. I mean, I know that he was.
Oh,
obviously gonna get another
he was
job,
such a
but
great
He was
coach.
amazing.
He's gonna do really good.
So
things
underrated.
He's gonna do really good things in Miami.
Yeah.
But Belichick probably won't win another. I don't think he's gonna have the time to accrue the talent, and he won't have. He's not gonna have that superstar player that nowadays you require to win a Super Bowl.
Especially in the conference with Mahomes and Lamar Jackson.
And Lamar Jackson
Yeah.
and Deshaun Watson and
Those three.
even
And
Baker Mayfield.
and Jarrett
if he
Stidham
can
is
have
gonna-
everything around him.
Jared Stidham causing us to lose games.
Yeah, Jarrett Stidham
has
is
to- he has to
literally
over-
handicapping the team.
He has to overcome that. It's gonna take years off his life.
Oh my God.
I don't
really
even
hope,
care.
I really
I wouldn't
hope
make all
Stidham
these-
plays well, or else I'm
I
gonna
wouldn't
look
make
like
all
the
these
biggest
takes
idiot ever.
unless Nick was making them. If Nick wasn't saying
Yeah,
anything,
literally,
I'd
we would be
just
so
like,
much more lax on Jarrett Stidham.
I know.
He's not
If
a good
Stidham was just-
quarterback. He's not a good
Stidham-
quarterback. He's not the worst quarterback who's ever.
He's not a
played in
bad
the NFL.
quarterback.
You don't even know that.
Yeah, you have no idea.
I'm gonna start making.
Well, you don't
arguments
know
like
if he's
Nick.
good either. You
I'm
say I
gonna
don't know
say-
if he's good.
I've
I'm gonna
watched
say
you don't know if
at
he's
least
bad.
4 times the games
Boom.
of Jarrett Stidham you've watched.
I'm gonna start making my assumptions like Nick. Just like don't even have any evidence.
You
Just
know,
be like, yep. Stidham's
Carson
terrible.
Edwards is going to be the next Kyrie Irving. Bro.
Yep, facts.
So
Wow.
good.
Wow.
Taco Falls is the next
Dude,
Yao.
if Stidham at least doesn't play average, I'm gonna get sued.
You get
by
sued.
Dude.
Sued by the Patriots organization for creating slander.
Oh my God.
All right. Does anybody else have any other points about this Belichick
Taco
point?
Fall is the next
No, I'm good.
Shaq. Let's go. I just have a
hungry,
gut
that's
feeling,
what I am.
man. I just have a gut
No,
feeling. So good. In those
Nick.
games with the main Red Claws, he was so good, bro.
Nick, you want to order
Every-
DoorDash to my
So
house?
red.
Dude,
I'm so hungry. I'm not
every
even playing.
episode of the Nosebleeds podcast isn't hot takes episode just because of
Just
the
because you
opinions I dish out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all terrible.
That's a theory.
Blake Bortles is in free agency. Let's sign Blake Bortles and make him our backup.
I know how Nick
Oh my-
felt with that whole line situation.
Oh man,
The
that's
what?
bad. Oh yeah, we talked about that,
Oh
bro. I
yeah,
can't
that
believe
was not good.
12 and
wait.
4? Are
Oh,
you
the
I was a
serious?
little harsh on them.
Are you
I will say,
serious?
I was
These are the
a little bit
first time
harsh
you guys
on
have
them.
been united since then.
I
That's
still believe in
bad. That's so much. That's
I
too
wasn't
much.
in
Okay,
that
yeah, I
episode,
haven't
but-
made that stupid of a take.
I think
maybe
they'll be
Stidham
better
one
than
you
maybe
think
people think, but I don't think they're going to be 12
that one's
and
the
4.
unreasonable.
I think
There's
they might
no
go
chance that Stidham
6
will
and
start.
10.
There's no way the Lions.
Yeah,
are gonna
I
win
would
the
say
division
that
12 and
that's
4.
it's more likely that Stidham leads the Patriots to 10 and 6 than it is for the Lions to go 12 and 4.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they just don't have that good of a
Guys, I
roster. Their
appreciate
coach is
that.
And they have a
terrible.
difficult schedule.
We'll see this year. I mean,
I
I mean,
mean,
yeah.
why?
See, we're just gonna have to wait and see.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
Lions
bro.
go
Okay,
12
guys,
and
you know
4
what? The
and
Jaguars
Stidham
are going to
wins
win the Super Bowl.
guys
We're
are
just
gonna
going to have
get
to wait and
that
see. We're just going to have to wait and see.
This is
Gardner
gonna be
Minshew
fun
is
to
going to
see.
throw for 57 touchdowns,
My
2
God, I'm so
interceptions,
hungry.
and
we're gonna come back to these.
5,900 yards.
We're gonna come
We're gonna
back
wait
to
and
these,
see.
and it's gonna be like all the predictions that Nick and I have made. And stuff like that.
Imagine
And it's
we
gonna
would be
pretty
beholden.
play.
We would be getting jobs at ESPN.
Dude, the
No, you
worst.
wouldn't.
Guaranteed.
No, it's
I
more about the
guarantee
If the
personality,
Lions
not
go
the
12
accuracy
and
of the team.
4, I'm sending
No.
this like tape into ESPN.
If the Lions go 12 and 4 with Jared Stidham as a starting quarterback, that's our worst nightmare.
Oh my God. I would cry.
Yeah,
I
Wake
would
up
have
in a
to
cold
retire.
sweat.
that would be awesome.
All right. Does anybody else have any other points?
Nah.
Point.
Are we good?
No, we're good. Yeah.
All right.
I'm hungry.
Thank you, everybody, so much for watching. If you haven't already, we just created a new Instagram page exclusively for the Nosebleeds podcast. Go follow it. It's Nosebleeds__podcast on Instagram. Go follow it for all your latest updates on the Nosebleeds podcast, along with clips. We'll probably be doing some Instagram live streams on there as well, maybe reacting to games and stuff like that, like what Chandler did for the NFL draft on ACMi Sports, stuff like that. So yeah, make sure to go follow that and go follow at ACMi Sports on Instagram as well, just to get the
And
latest
YouTube.
sports content from Arlington High and
already
stuff like that.
subscribed.
Yeah, Chris is displaying it over there. Go follow it. Thank you, Chris. And subscribe to ACMi Sports on YouTube for all of the updates on the Nosebleeds podcast. You can see all of our episodes here. And especially as we're starting to move into a new format coming up once the hockey and basketball season start, there's going to be a lot of Nosebleeds. What'd you say?
Sports are almost back. I'm so happy.
Oh, yeah, we're close. We're so close.
And soccer is almost about to really kick into gear.
Well, no one cares about that, but all right.
Yeah,
Keep moving
nobody
ahead.
cares about that.
Well, yeah, but once sports start up again, we're going to be getting a lot of Nosebleeds podcast episodes out, and we hope you're all looking forward to it. So be sure to stay tuned to hear on ACMi Sports on YouTube for all the Nosebleeds podcasts.
What if our nose?
And make sure to give this video a like, comments in the comments what you want to see in future episodes, as well as some opinions on what you thought about this episode, because we always come up with some controversial opinions and we would love to hear your thoughts on it. So leave them down in the comments below. And that's it. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching. My name is Nick Antonakis, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.